went with a friend to buy weed from an acquaintance of his, a fellow stoner who had picked up a little extra to hook up his buddies and make a few bucks in the process. We swung by an apartment building on Gailey, an ugly multi-unit box. The shabby security vestibule opened on an elevator that stank of rancid hydraulic fluid. Upstairs, the hallway was anonymous and bland, but the apartment had a distinctive grotto-like atmosphere, the windows covered over with bed sheets and the walls festooned with posters, all of them for the same band, a band I'd never heard of, Marillion. We stood awkwardly in the middle of the living room, while a line of stoned residents deliquiesced into the couch in front of us, eyes more wary than friendly. At the end of the couch, as stoned as the rest of them, sat my long-haired guardian angel. My friend got the pot, and perhaps to make the visit seem less transactional, his friend made introductions around the room. I learned the name of the mystery man, a name not nearly as mysterious as he was, Jeff. First quarter of sophomore year, there he was again, in Cinema and Social Change. Every Tuesday and Thursday, in Melnitz Hall, his myth disintegrated further, the slow grind of familiarity rendering him into just another undergrad, a fellow non-film major as clueless as I was about the movies we were discussing. This process struck me as curious. Over the years, it would spring to mind whenever I found myself having to deal with people whose fame summoned in me an irrational but persistent agitation. The gate agent bent behind the counter to retrieve something from the printer. She handed Jeff his identification and boarding pass. He thanked her and turned to go. When he came past me, I said his name. He looked at me quizzically. "Yes?" he said. "UCLA," I said. His eyebrows went up behind those lucite frames. "Jesus," he said. "You look exactly the same. Plus 20 years or so, but you know what I mean." I wondered if he was trying to place me. I started to say my name, but he beat me to it. "That's me," I said. "Names and faces," he said, tapping his temple. "It's a thing." Oh God, I thought. He's become a salesman. He put out his hand to shake. "That film class," he said. "I remember. Only one I ever took." "Same. Almost failed it. Couldn't stay awake in the dark. The whole thing felt like a dream." "You didn't miss much," I said. I didn't mean it, but I was making conversation. He smiled and took me in for a moment. "Hey, why don't you join me in the first-class lounge? I've got an extra pass." "What about the flight?" He pointed at the display above the gate. We'd been delayed. I'd already spent hours in the airport, my tickets having been purchased last minute and at the cheapest possible fare. A red-eye from L.A., a layover at JFK, a flight to Frankfurt, a 4-hour train ride to Berlin, and the idea of a first-class lounge was so appealing, I could have hugged old Jeff right there and then. I trailed him through the terminal, his soft leather briefcase and fresh-looking rollerboard making me wish I'd replaced my scruffy backpack with something more adult. The terminal wasn't packed, but it was crowded enough that we made better progress single file than two abreast. His hair was cropped cleanly in a line above his collar. Everything about him conveyed neatness and taste. In college, I'd never seen him in nice clothes, only ripped-up jeans and weathered T-shirts worn inside out to obscure whatever was written on them. Whether this was fashion or indigence was never clear to me. The whole way from gate to lounge elevator, as I followed him and the rhythmic tick-tock of his bag's wheels across the terminal's tiles, he didn't once look back to make sure I was following. I wondered if he was having second thoughts about inviting me into the land of the fancy people. I hoped I hadn't seemed too desperate when accepting his offer. At the elevator, he was back to normal, or how he had been at the gate, delighted at the coincidence and looking forward to catching up, though as far as I knew, we didn't have much to catch up on. I presumed that he was one of those people who hated being alone. Perhaps if I'd been paying closer attention, or if I'd known what was to come, I'd have detected a glimmer of desperation in his eyes. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't there. Not yet. We checked into the lounge at a marble counter, where an officious young man took my pass and waved us in, letting us know that they would be announcing when it was time for us to head down to the gate. Jeff found seats by the window, a low table between them, and gestured for me to sit, as if he were my host. The chair was real leather, and the table real wood.